It was an official statement delivered to a terrified campus, then snatched back just minutes later. A suspect was in custody. But in the harrowing hours that followed the mass shooting at Brown University, that single fleeting promise of justice evaporated, replaced by a desperate, massive manhunt. How could law enforcement, surrounded by chaos and carnage, be so profoundly wrong about a detail so critical? Today, we peel back the layers of a college shooting to find by contradiction and a singular piece of recovered evidence so bizarre it changed the course of the investigation. The Ivy League target. The afternoon of Saturday, December 13, 2025, shattered the quiet intellectual bubble of Providence, Rhode Island. Brown University, one of the nation's most prestigious Ivy League institutions, was in the throes of final exams. Shortly after 4 p.m., the sound of gunfire erupted from the Barus Holley engineering building. This was not a false alarm, it was a mass shooting. Within minutes, the scale of the tragedy became clear. 2 people were dead, and 9 others were wounded. The gravity of the situation was compounded by the fact that every victim, those killed and those injured, was a student at the university. University President Christina Paxson would later describe it as a day that no university community is ever prepared for. The campus immediately locked down, but the early response was marred by a catastrophic error. Almost immediately after the event, officials released an alert claiming a suspect had been taken into custody. Minutes later, that alert was withdrawn. The terrifying truth was that the shooter was still at large, somewhere in the heart of Rhode Island's capital city. The confusion surrounding that false arrest would haunt the investigation, but it was nothing compared to the mystery of how the shooter initiated the attack in the first place.
The manhunt that followed was immense. Hundreds of officers, armed and in tactical gear, scoured the historic campus and nearby neighborhoods. They were working with limited, yet chilling, visual evidence. Surveillance video captured the perpetrator leaving the scene. He was described by police simply as a male dressed in black. The footage was stark. It showed the gunman calmly walking away from the scene of mass murder. But even as police hunted the man in black, investigators faced a major hurdle involving the crime scene itself. The shooting occurred inside the Barus Holley engineering building, a 7-story complex filled with labs and classrooms. While some exterior doors to the building were confirmed to be unlocked, the rooms being used for final exams were supposed to require badge access. Deputy Chief Timothy O'Hara admitted that it was unknown how the individual entered the first-floor classroom where the violence erupted. This gap in security and access became the core puzzle of the case. Did the shooter belong inside the highly secure exam area, or had a sophisticated method of entry been used?
The tense, agonizing hours of the shelter-in-place order finally ended the morning after the shooting. The search was over, not because the man in black had turned himself in, but because authorities had detained a person of interest. The Providence Police Department confirmed they had this individual in custody. This was the first major breakthrough, and Chief Cole Oscar Perez immediately sought to calm the community. He stated clearly that authorities were no longer searching for any other perpetrators. The person detained was identified only as a man in his 30s. Authorities were highly protective of other details, refusing to make his identity public or confirm whether he had any connection to Brown University, a critical question given the badge access requirements for the exam rooms. Yet, 2 facts were confirmed upon the man's detention. First, the police recovered the alleged weapon used in the shooting. Officials believed the weapon to be a handgun. Second, and perhaps most significant for the future of the prosecution, that recovered firearm was immediately flagged. Why? Because the alleged weapon, the one that ended 2 lives and injured 9 students, possessed an undisclosed and truly shocking feature.
Despite the detention of the person of interest, the situation remains legally fluid. As of December 14, 2025, no charges have been made public, but the recovered evidence solidifies the police case. The individual in custody is the man seen calmly walking away from the crime scene. Law enforcement sources confirmed that the handgun recovered when the person of interest was taken into custody had a unique characteristic. This specific, identifying feature on the firearm itself likely provided the crucial link needed to confirm the suspect's identity and place him definitively at the scene of the violence. The discovery of the unique characteristic not only ties the person of interest directly to the weapon and the crime, but also casts a shadow back over the original mystery, the manner of entry. The man is in custody, the gun is recovered, and authorities are certain they have their perpetrator. Yet the Brown community is left reeling, processing a tragedy that struck at the core of their campus during final exams. The path forward is recovery, but the final lingering question remains. What specific, chilling anomaly was built into the weapon used in this mass shooting, and what does it tell us about the man who brought it onto the campus that deadly Saturday?
2 students are dead, 9 others wounded, and an Ivy League campus remains scarred by violence. The person authorities say committed this atrocity is detained, but until charges are filed and the specifics of that unique characteristic on the weapon are revealed, the case of the Brown University shooting will continue to serve as a stark reminder that sometimes the most critical piece of evidence is the one feature that makes a deadly weapon stand out from all the rest.